LG, I got yours up here too. You need them?
I'm good.
You good?
Yep.
All right. They forgot the box. Damn it. Well, good afternoon, everyone. Glad to be here with you today. As we've been saying, last year we made generational, historic investments in Minnesotans, whether it be the ability to provide meals to all of our children, a historic child tax credit reducing childhood poverty by a third, meeting matching dollars for all of the federal money that will continue to make, as it was announced this week, Minnesota's roads the best of the 50 states in the country as we build towards the future. Now we're getting many of those things done. We're implementing life-changing programs like paid family and medical leave and trying to make sure we're pursuing all of those federal dollars. And I've been saying it this year, and I'll continue to say it. This is a bonding year. It's not a budget year. That's why we're going to meet this moment with a smaller, intentional supplemental budget that addresses statewide needs to ensure we're continuing to provide efficient, high-quality government services. The things we're prioritizing fall into about 3 buckets here: safe communities, clean drinking water, and support for children and family. We'll be providing support for emergency medical services across the state that we've seen over the years. This is an issue that goes back, and some of the rules written around it go back to the 1980s and have been problematic since then, and I think we'll start taking that issue on. Improvements to our child protection system, allowing child welfare workers to spend more time working directly with children and families, and funding for in-home water treatment, well replacement, and other services to deal with the issues of nitrates in drinking waters and other contaminants. We'll do this all by doing what we've done every single time, maintaining responsible, balanced budgets, and this year making sure, whether it's Social Security tax cuts, rebate checks that went back to people, the CTC, and other things, making sure that Minnesotans, especially working-class Minnesotans, are seeing a budget that is not only balanced but returning services and high-quality responses to the things they need. With that, I'd like to turn it over to Lieutenant Governor Flanagan.
Thank you, Governor. Good afternoon, everyone. We know that Minnesota's economy is strong and healthy, and it's through thoughtful, specific budgeting, like we're presenting today, that we will keep it that way. The supplemental budget invests in core services to ensure Minnesotans can live safer, healthier, and better lives. My inner policy nerd is showing, but I'm super excited about the child tax credit payment protection pilot. We know that monthly payments to families are a game changer for the federal program that has since expired. So making sure that we're able to continue to lead the nation in being the first state to mirror this program at the state level is incredibly exciting to me. Today is about improving and investing in the critical everyday needs of Minnesotans. This is not the year for sweeping and expansive change, and that's okay, because that's exactly what a bonding year should look like. And there's still plenty to be excited about, because many of the historic policies that we passed last session are taking effect right now. So this supplemental budget is just one of the many puzzle pieces to make Minnesota the best state for kids and families, which, by the way, I think we are doing a pretty darn good job of meeting that goal. So with that, we'd be happy to take any questions.
We kept our word. Granted, the font is small, but it does fit on one page. So that's a good point. That's a good point in the future. Please, any questions? And we have all of our experts here, too.
What missing is money for school milk.
Yeah.
Did that not make the cut?
Look, it is a priority of ours, and I think many in this room understand how this is. Some of these proposals originate with us, and some originate in the legislature to try and get to the end result on that. There's going to be a start point for negotiations that comes with this budget. We are still very interested in pursuing the milk program as part of school lunches, and we'll see where that fits in at the end.
Governor, the amount that you have in here for EMS is quite a bit lower than what's in the EMS rescue bill they allow right now. Is there going to be room for negotiation?
Well, certainly the issue is one that we have been focused on, and it's absolutely correct. What we're doing here is we're taking the OLA recommendations that were in here, and that's the $6 million, and we're moving some of the responsibilities over to the Department of Health. And then we're targeting the highest needs, and those are ones we know right now. I think the bill that's being proposed addresses the longer-term needs. I think those are valid concerns. I think we're triaging in a non-budget year to deal with the things that need to be dealt with right now. now, but I think it tells you something that this is very, very focused. There's very few things in here. This is a lead point. So it is smaller, not because we don't agree that the issue is of that magnitude. We think this does what it needs to do in the short run to get us to the point where we can talk about longer-term funding and solutions.
To that note, the total dollar amount they're looking for, that $120 million, Senator Houschild says is the total annual deficit for EMS, rural EMS across the state. I mean, $10 million is probably a drop in the bucket. I mean, how do you think that goes?
Well, I think getting a handle on where it is and how much of that deficit is needed now, where are those that are in critical need, the most critical need, and then addressing it longer term. And look, I do not want to have a situation that arose out of nursing home situation where at the end of the year people were pushing and not having a good understanding of this. I think understanding the whole landscape of the EMS, again, I'm not minimizing, and I think there's certainly that deficit is there. I think what we're trying to do is, as we looked at the numbers, these are the ones that are in the most critical positions right now. We can deliver for that. And again, I would make the case is what we're putting up is a big piece of the entire supplemental budget that we're putting forward. It makes up the lion's share in many cases. So,
Can you expand on what the child tax credit payments protection pilot is? It's taken up 40.
you've been waiting for this the whole time. He came living for this.
So, Paul Marquardt, Commissioner of Revenue, and just to kind of put the umbrella on this, Governor Walz, Lieutenant Governor Flanagan's big goal is to make Minnesota the best state in the nation for our kids and families, and with that to ultimately eliminate child poverty. So as you know, last year was enacted a nation-leading child tax credit. And as Lieutenant Governor Flanagan mentioned, now the governor, Lieutenant Governor are proposing, which would be the first state in the nation, make Minnesota the first state in the nation, to do advanced periodic payments on the child tax credit. The federal government did that in 2021 when they expanded the child tax credit. And the thing about advanced payments and that importance is that it enhances the ability of the child tax credit to get to that 33% child poverty cut. It really helps that. All studies show that by advancing those payments, making it more consistent and predictable for families enhances the effectiveness of that. So one big part of making sure we have an effective advanced periodic payment is to make sure we have people participating there. And one of the big obstacles for people getting involved with the advanced payment is the fear of, okay, right now I meet the income levels, but now if I get a new job or a spouse gets a job or a promotion, it may take me out of the income range to qualify for this credit. So this provides the child tax credit payment protection pilot would be for 4 years, and it would be, right now what we're looking at is an advance payment of 50% of whatever that credit is. That's what you would receive. This gives you a minimum credit of that 50% up to certain income levels. So the importance of it is that folks will, this now becomes an incentive to go out and increase your income. You don't have that fear that if you get into the program, you might have to be paying things back at the end, and that's going to lead to a better, more successful program. So this is important, and the fact that if you look at the budget, this is one of the larger areas in that first year is at $45 million. Just again mentions that this isn't just words from the governor and lieutenant governor, this is action in making sure we can really get to cutting child poverty, which we know the benefits are just great. So, so there's an income cap and so forth, but it would guarantee a minimum of 50% of your credit that you have coming to you. So.
And anybody who is eligible for the tax credit now would be eligible for the pilot, or the income cap would be lower for the periodic payments?
Yeah, everyone would qualify, even those who take the lump sum at once or the advance payment. Both of those tax filers would be able to apply for this program.
Why does it cost an additional $45 million? Is that just because you're blowing past income tax in some cases?
Right now, the income cap would be for married filer with one child, about $60,500, and then it would go up $9,000 for each kid. And so if you're above that, you don't qualify. In single, it's $49,500 with $9,000 for each kid going over that. So basically, the program kicks in if your payment for that next year is less than 50% of what it was the year before.
So to be clear, the advanced payments don't, so anybody who qualifies right now and is enrolled and is, got that payment, they're not going to see, like the federal government did, their tax credit in monthly payments. That's only for these people who are grandfathered in through they or is it going to be everybody gets the monthly payment going forward?
So you will opt in. So on the advance payment, which would start next filing year, it would be an opt-in. And so there's information. There's going to be a lot more outreach and information that's going to be required, but that would be an opt-in.
But it sounds like the biggest cost factor is that you're grandfathering in people beyond the thresholds that were set last year.
Well, no, you wouldn't. So right now, the revenue estimate.
Say expanding, like if somebody doesn't, qualify anymore in the next year, they still could get half the payment, as you said.
That is correct if they're within the income levels. And right now, the revenue estimate is about $10 million a year, and that's why that $45 million would go for a 4-year pilot program.
You're just saying you get the payment for every whatever quarterly or whenever you're doing them if you are income eligible at that time versus at the end of the year.
That's correct. Yeah.
So at the budget forecast rollout, you mentioned that the demand for the school meals program was higher than anticipated. Is that in this budget to take care of that, or is that automatically done just because it was approved last year?
Hi, I'm Anna McGee, State Budget Director with MMB. The costs for the sort of incremental costs of school breakfast and lunch is included in the budget forecast, so the governor doesn't need to recommend additional funding.
You say it's no action from the legislature.
The legislature just needs to pass some of the sort of standard forecast adjustment bills like they do in all of our forecast programs.
What's the one-time percent employee pension and holiday for teachers?
Yeah, what it does is, and I think you saw it, and I'm not sure if any of the folks in here worked on the story about where Minnesota's teacher salaries are at. And we've made it clear that we want to make sure that we're making teaching, we're making law enforcement, we're making some of these professions appealing to folks. And one of the things is of trying to catch back up on a pension system. We started this last year to try and start to reduce the cost that teachers have to put into the pension system. What this does is a one-time payment to reduce 0.25%. To give you an idea, that would be about $450 for teachers making around $50,000 a year. I think that's about the numbers that I saw working on that. And it's to continue that striving to try and enhance the teacher retirement program as we started last year to keep the momentum going.
Give them a break from contribution?
So it's a one-time. The contribution will go in. It'll be 0.25% less than what's required normally. I think that's correct?
For 1 year.
For one time.
Can you talk about the volume numbers here? It's like some of them might be just moving projects from one year to another because you back out $20 million from next fiscal year, you add 30 this fiscal year to explain that.
Sure. So I think what you're referencing is the capital budget line item here, and what we've opted to do is maintain the $830 million capital investment bill that was part of the November forecast. And because we've done that, that also indicates that there will be some savings into the future. And so the number in the tails there is the savings for for debt service for not going to a $980 million bill. That helps to mitigate the cost of the tails here.
And what's the add in the first year to $531 million?
There's actually only about $8 million new to the capital budget bill, so this is inclusive of what was part of the governor's original bonding bill rollout. So the total bonding bill now is $989 million as opposed to $982 million previously. And there are very minor changes in the bonding bill. You will see that we've increased funding for the Bowser Wetland Road Replacement program due to the increased transportation projects that are anticipated. We have made some adjustments at the request at the Department of Military Affairs based on their changing priorities, and we've moved a small nitrate program into the supplemental budget. So very minor changes. Did that answer your question? Okay.
I would note that in the 26-27 that there's $2 billion on the bottom line was left on this after the November forecast. So the slight changes we made in the supplemental still, if you recall, we were around 82 million. There's a slight changes that we've added to these 3 buckets of priorities: the EMS, children, family, and some of the water work, and then of course our child tax credit. So we still, again, that number after 26-27 is $2 billion left on the bottom line. In addition to, we are maxed out to our statutory retirements and our rainy day funds.
Well, Governor, there are people upstairs, Brian, who if you look at that $2 billion and think you're a cheapskate, right? To spend this on that on programs.
That's why I didn't.
They think are really important.
Yeah, no, they are important. And I was going to say that's why I didn't release it on Friday on the Ides of March, and we came till today. Yes, they're going to be, and that's their prerogative. These are programs that they're going to be arguing for that I am in full support of too. It comes back to the fact that we are not in a budget year, we're in a bonding year, and that we have got a responsible budget, and we're starting to see growth come out of those decisions, that we will have an opportunity when we come back next January in a budget year to flesh those out. And there's certainly things that we put in there to make sure we keep the ball moving forward on those top priorities, making sure, and I've always done everything we can to expand the access to health care. And you see a little bit in here to make sure we're focusing on those programs. But it's just simply a matter of this, we captured those generational fixes in many cases after years of gridlock, and this is a year to focus on bonding, small supplemental, and make sure we're fiscally sound going out. But I hear you, and I think they're very valid, and I think the discussions are certainly needed because they put us in a better position when we are ready fiscally to make some of those decisions. We will have the data we need.
Why are the cannabis management substance use grants and then the keeping versus by the bedside for requirements down?
Yeah, and I don't want to, we had this discussion.
These are just resources that we don't project that we will be using this biennium, and we have identified other priorities. For example, when you look at the savings that we are accounting for with the SUD grants that are in the Office of Cannabis Management, for instance, you'll see we are investing in the 1115 waiver program to reduce recidivism. And so instead of just leaving that money there, we have decided to capture it.
So you're going to ask the legislature to say, don't spend it on that, spend it on this instead.
Exactly.
And what about the nurses? What changed there about them? I can't remember what that was.
That was a contingent account in the event that that bill passed, and it didn't, and so the money is available.
Is the pre-K just reserve changes, or is there an enrollment change? Voluntary pre-K?
Yeah, that was part of the bill that the budget bill passed last year, and ultimately we have, it included, I believe, 3,000 pre-K spots, and we have resources to fund more than that. And so what we're asking the legislature to do there, with the same amount of money, expanding the number of seats available in pre-K.
2,200.
2,200, yeah, 2,200.
Any more on topic? We can go to
Governor, we'd like to hear your thoughts on rideshare. Do you want the legislature to step in? Is there a time frame? Would you like to see something done?
Yeah, it's like many Minnesotans, this is a tough issue, and I think you can hold several things at the same time. We certainly want to see folks be paid a fair wage for their work. We also want to make sure that that wage structure allows for the business to go forward. I am deeply concerned should the rideshare companies leave. The disability community has spoken up. I think folks who have, and a generation of folks who don't drive while drinking as much anymore because they use the ride shares and then just basically getting around. Look, I'll bring all the folks together to get this fixed, but just candidly, I'm not super hopeful because of the decision that was made in Minneapolis. I certainly would have liked them to wait for the most extensive work being done about what we can do to support drivers in this program, which we did, the largest single study, 18 million rides, the best study that's been done, and the only study statewide in the country. I would encourage Minnesotans to, if you're in Minneapolis, contact your city council, talk to them about, look, we want to pay drivers a fair wage, but we don't want these services to go. And there is a roadmap in that study that I think provides that to be done, and talk to the legislators. So I think my hope here is that at the end of the day, people take a step back and then everybody comes to the table. But it is not acceptable to not come to the table. That is for the rideshare companies need to get back here and do this. Legislators need to come and work on this. We're willing to try and play our role in it, but again, this is very frustrating to me because I view this as a utility that is needed, and to lose this, I don't think it's a plan to think somebody might step in. But that's not really a plan. That's hopefulness. And so we've got an opportunity here. We've got to get busy on this. I'm encouraging everybody, let's get back and figure this out. Let's use the study as a guide to a place that we can get to, and let's work out a workable solution, because leaving is not good for anyone.
Governor, do you support a bill that would the state law would preempt the Minneapolis race?
Well, I've spoken many times on this. I am certainly not a fan of preemption, and I try and stay out of that. But I think the fact of the matter is the decision by those 9-10 city council members, because the bulk of the 18 million rides are here, have impacted the entire state and a much broader area. I think it makes sense because of the nature of these, if possible, to get that working solution on a statewide. And we took the time to look at outstate versus the metro. We took time to look at all of the variables from the licensing and idle time, and gave a menu of possible solutions. I am still a bit baffled by we said that was coming and the need to go 12 hours before that to put something that went outside those parameters. I would support us coming back using that. I think the city council could use our study to craft something that we find a working solution. Again, no one's disputing that these drivers need to make a decent living. It needs to be fair. Our study found out they aren't being paid enough, but it also found out that there's a sweet spot in there where the rideshare companies can still continue to operate. Folks can use that service. That's where we should end up.
But there's a bill from some Democrats right now that's basically almost aligned with Minneapolis's rates. So, so in other words, they're going above what that study suggested as well. Are you going to have any conversations with leaders about getting more to that range that the Dow?
Yes, but they need to come in first. So just taking your ball and going home isn't the place to do that. And I say this, and just candidly to all of you, I will do everything we can to make a working solution on this, but I'm not super hopeful because folks are simply putting stuff out there, not showing up. And I guess this is a game of chicken. It's a game of chicken with folks in the disability community. It's a game of chicken with folks who need rides. It's a game of chicken betting you know best what those rideshare companies are going to do, and or the rideshare company thinks what the city council is going to do. That's no way to do business. Yes, this gig economy is complex. It's hard. There's more work to be done in it, but I don't think anybody can deny, I don't think I'm overstating it when I say I view it as like an essential utility that we need now to make things work. That's what I hope your readers, your listeners, your viewers are thinking the same thing. They don't want to take advantage of the drivers, but they also don't want to lose the service.
Sorry, who was their problems that showed up? You're saying the rideshare companies are?
I think everybody involved here.
The legislators, okay.
Little of both.
Governor, can you,
Yeah, go ahead. Oh, go ahead. I'll go here and here.
could you expand on your comments about Mary Moriarty and the charges against the state trooper?
Well, look, this was last week talking about this. This is a serious case. Obviously, when someone loses their life, and there's a case like this, there's controversy, obviously, around the charging decision and some of the transparency issues. And look, I'll go back to this. In a case like this, transparency is king. And it's one of the reasons why we passed sweeping legislation providing body cameras and other responsibilities on this. So I'm glad the judge has talked about this. I think some of that documents will be turned over. The allegations that are before the court about not getting the information around the expert witness, and again, I do have to preface this. I have responsibilities and legal authority in certain things, but I listen to people, whether it's on health issues or lawyer. I'm not a lawyer myself. But as a layman on this, why would you not listen to a use of force expert? Why would that not be central to something you would do? And I think the allegations, and I will say if there are allegations at this time, release documents and let us know. So I don't take these types of decisions. Look, this idea of being frustrated about this case, I have to be very careful how I express those things in any legal matter. I do trust juries. I do trust justice system. That's at the end of the day what needs to happen here. But a case needs to be put in front of them that's fair to get justice. And I have expressed my concern that in talking to lots of legal experts, there's a lot of confusion and controversy of what's happened so far in this case, and I just want to make sure that it's fair. So that's where that's coming from.
Would you consider taking the case later?
Well, I don't take that lightly, and I think many of you know the history of this. It's been done twice, and I was one of those cases in the McKeever case. And I think you have to leave options open. That authority was given to the governor to be able to exercise that judgment, but I want to be very clear. That is a very serious step in terms of our justice system, which, as I said, I still believe juries can do the right thing and justice can be served. But I've expressed it in this case because there's been statements and things that have been in this from the beginning that are concerning. So that option is always open.
Hey, Governor, are you close to making a decision on that? And would there be a conflict of interest to give it to the Attorney General's office because they represent and control the legal matter?
Well, they do. No, there's no timeline on. Look, we'll get more from the judge on Thursday. I think that'll be a little anticlimactic. There will be an omnibus report on, I believe it's April 29th. My legal team would tell me that. There's a lot of points in here that those decisions can be made, and I think just like I talked about the rideshare thing, I think it behooves people making these decisions to get as much information ahead as possible. As a question of the conflict of interest, look, the Attorney General's office deals with these types of things all the time. While it's true they do represent the State Patrol, they also have firewalls over there where they can wall off their attorneys who would be able to have that capacity. So that happens in different cases. Really grateful on this. I'm going to end one more time, and I'm going to give my huge thanks to Commissioner Marquardt being led by the Lieutenant Governor's work around the child tax credit. The numbers now is 298,000 children, $361 million for a total average payout of $1,240. Yes. There we go. So I got his numbers right. Look, this was a big deal. Transformational moves were made last year that are impacting families on many fronts. You've seen it come to fruit with $400 million for the Blotnick Bridge with our partners in Wisconsin and $1 billion of federal improvement. Last week, naming Minnesota roads the best in the country. We're building towards the future. We have many great things going on. Our financial, being AAA bond rated, our financial future looks strong. Revenues are still outpacing expenditures, even as last month's. But this is a non-budget year. It is a bonding bill to protect those assets. It is time to triage some of our most pressing issues, get this thing wrapped up, finish your work next week, and we can finish early and save some money in the legislature. But we know that there's going to be 2 months of discussions around really important issues. This budget, I think, fits all the bills that Minnesotans are looking for. Fiscally responsible by investing in our children, investing in the middle class, investing in our infrastructure and growing businesses, all while keeping a solid fiscal footing for Minnesota. So look forward to the next few months of discussions, and appreciate you being here.
Thanks, everyone.
Thank you all.
You made the commissioner very proud.